One fire, 600 sailors left without beds. The USS Ford now leaves port with its destination unknown, raising urgent questions about whether this battered crew is heading to safety or straight back into the line of fire. The world's largest warship has fled Croatia, but is it actually rushing back into Iran's trap, sailing toward a region where missiles, drones, and hostile proxies are waiting to test America's most advanced carrier in combat conditions? Trump appears to be running from a full-scale Iran war, then suddenly orders the Ford to charge back in, sending mixed signals that confuse allies, embolden enemies, and leave everyone guessing about Washington's real strategy. As the Houthis threaten to shut the Red Sea, the question now is whether the USS Ford can stop them, or if this powerful symbol of US naval might will struggle to secure one of the world's most critical shipping lanes. Is America preparing for a two-front war against Iran and its proxies, positioning the Ford and other assets for simultaneous battles at sea and on land that could stretch US forces like never before in the Middle East? The world's largest warship, the USS Gerald Ford, is rejoining Operation Epic Fury, heading back into the Iran theater as the US Navy once again leans on its most powerful carrier to project strength in the region. The change in direction comes after a 5-day port visit in Split, Croatia, where the ship and its crew paused operations before being ordered back to sea for renewed frontline duty. The Navy said that the warship was poised for full mission tasking on April 2nd, indicating that the carrier and its air wing are now ready to resume combat sorties and high-intensity operations. The warship was undergoing repairs and receiving fresh supplies following an onboard fire, with damaged sections being restored so the vessel could quickly return to a fully operational status. The development was reported in a Washington Post article dated April 3rd, highlighting growing scrutiny over the Ford's grueling deployment and the risks it faces as the Iran conflict escalates. A detailed investigation into the cause and circumstances surrounding the fire is currently underway, as naval authorities try to determine what went wrong and how to prevent a similar incident from threatening the ship again. The military earlier said the fire originated in the ship's main laundry spaces and was not combat-related, stressing that the incident stemmed from an internal malfunction rather than enemy action or direct strike. Significantly, sorties were only able to be flown 2 days after the fire was extinguished, underscoring how severely flight operations were disrupted and how much time was needed to get the carrier's air wing safely back in the air. A US official told CNN in March that putting out the fire and cleaning up the damage took around 30 hours, detailing a lengthy, exhausting effort by the crew to bring the situation under control and restore basic functions on board. The official also said that slightly more than 100 beds were damaged in the fire, meaning many sailors had to be temporarily relocated and highlighting the broader impact the blaze had on daily life and morale aboard the ship. If the Ford is deployed to the Middle East, it will have to pass through the Suez Canal and the Red Sea, navigating choke points that are increasingly tense and where any hostile act could quickly escalate into a major incident. The Houthis, backed by Iran, have already entered the war by launching 2 missile attacks on Israel, demonstrating both their reach and their willingness to strike high-profile targets in support of Tehran's wider confrontation. Now, as per Associated Press reporting, the USS Ford could face potential threats from the Houthis, especially after senior Houthi official warned that the group could move to shutter the Bab el Mandeb Strait and menace shipping. This warning has turned the Bab el Mandeb into a potential flashpoint, raising the risk that any US carrier passing through nearby waters could find itself in the crosshairs of missiles or drone attacks launched from Yemen. Europe's Red Sea Naval Task Force is prepared for the resumption of Houthi attacks, according to the war zone, signaling that Western forces are actively coordinating to protect vital sea lanes and respond quickly if the situation explodes again. War with Iran has triggered a major shift in US military priorities in the Gulf, as experts say the focus is now moving toward protecting fixed infrastructure as much as projecting power. The Pentagon is urgently pushing to build more hardened bunkers and protective shelters across its bases in the Middle East, in an effort to shield aircraft, command nodes, and supplies from precision strikes. This focus comes after Iranian attacks exposed critical vulnerabilities in US military infrastructure, showing that exposed runways, fuel stores, and parked aircraft can be high-value targets. The US Defense Secretary confirmed that rapidly deploying and upgrading bunkers has become a top priority, with funding and construction timelines being fast-tracked. The urgency was highlighted by a recent strike on Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, which demonstrated how exposed installations can be hit at short notice. The Iranian attack reportedly destroyed a high-value E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft and several other systems parked openly on the tarmac, reducing key surveillance and command and control capacity. For years, analysts had warned that these exposed systems were highly vulnerable to precision strikes, especially in an era of advanced drones and long-range missiles. Despite these warnings, the US military largely prioritized active missile interception systems like THAAD and Patriot, treating them as the main line of defense. However, the pattern of attacks has now shifted the focus toward passive protection measures, such as reinforced shelters, bunkers, and physical hardening of facilities. Officials are combining these shelters with strategies like dispersing assets, varying movement patterns, and rotating deployment sites to reduce predictability. The US Space Force is also seeking transportable hardened shelters that can be delivered to forward locations and deployed within days to protect satellite control and communications equipment. One such critical hub is Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan, which has played a central role in regional operations and serves as a forward maintenance and logistics node. The base has already come under Iranian attacks, including strikes targeting defense radar systems and nearby support infrastructure. The US Army Corps of Engineers has also proposed underground facilities at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar to better protect fighters, tankers, and command centers. The crisis has also raised difficult questions about why such protections were not implemented earlier, particularly at key expeditionary bases. Military planners had often argued that hardening infrastructure was costly, time-consuming, and less flexible than relying on mobility and active defenses. However, the destruction of high-value assets suggests that dispersion alone may not be enough to counter increasingly precise strike capabilities. Another concern is that Russia and China could be assisting Iran with targeting data, improving the accuracy of its missile and drone campaigns. Even without confirmed external help, Iran has demonstrated precise targeting capabilities in this war, hitting specific runways, fuel tanks, and radar sites. Iran is also using its terrain and underground facilities to shield key military infrastructure from US bombardment, burying missiles and equipment in hardened bunkers.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.